Hello, everyone. I'm going to go back to the death of Isaiah Nilram. His birth name was originally Dylan Prentice, and this was originally posted May 29th in the local news. Authorities have identified the body recovered from the Juniata River Wednesday. Mifflin County Coroner Dan Lynch identified the victim as 17-year-old Isaiah Nilram. A search for Nilram began Tuesday evening when the teen disappeared from a group of swimmers in Granville Township. So as you can see, this is about a supposed, well, it says right here that they're calling him a victim. What we're going to show is that this narrative is now suddenly being covered up and changed. And I'm going to show you where the problem is. I'm going to go look here. And we're looking into it. And as you can see, several months later, we see that the Lewistown Sentinel changes the narrative. Mifflin County courts have identified the deceased individual recovered Wednesday evening from Juniata. Notice they changed the wording from victim to deceased, and that Nilram had been reporting missing Tuesday evening after he and a group of tweens had been swimming in a river near Mifflin County and of Lewistown Narrows. No cause of death was listed in the coroner's report, so he just went swimming and died. No death by drowning or some other cause. He just died after missing. So as you can see, there's definitely been a change. As you can see here, this is different than local news, which was on Mark Radio, May 29th of 2020. If you notice, again, it shows the local news picture that I had. Have identified the Coverup body of Juniata River. Mifflin County Coroner Dan Lynch identified what the victim is 17-year-old Isaiah Nilram. We open this up. We find that page suddenly no longer exists. So somebody is trying to cover something up here. And again, you'll read, on Tuesday, my baby with brother Isaiah went to the Juniata River with a group of friends to go swimming. As they were crossing the water, my little brother started lagging behind and went under. One of the guys there tried to save him but wasn't able. We hoped he was just injured somewhere, and a few others waited until the first responders until they found him. Unfortunately, they didn't find him alive. My whole family are absolutely devastated because my little brother meant the world to all of us. He didn't deserve a premature death. He didn't deserve to die at all. He had his whole life ahead of him. There is nothing in this world that could have prepared us for this tragedy. We are asking for prayers, thoughts, and community support through this. Now, this is a GoFundMe claiming to be put up by my daughter, who's using the name Addie Mae. Her real name is Aradea Lily Mae Marshall. And she was kidnapped by these people with the use of fraudulent probate papers. They have attempted to murder me on several occasions while holding my daughter essentially hostage on behalf of the birth father, Thomas Aaron Clark. And of course, she's the beneficiary. And this is a different narrative, if you notice, even then. So now we have 3 different narratives. Because according to the coroner's report, he was missing. If you go back to here, and if you notice once again, Mifflin County has identified the deceased individual recovered Wednesday as the remains of 17-year-old Isaiah Lewistown. Notice they removed victim out of there. And then, of course, in the past one up here, you can see the teen went missing while swimming Tuesday night. This is all the way back in May 29th. and you can't even get it now. So you put on that, and you notice that it goes back, and they erase it. They erase it to try to change the narrative to something else. Can't even search it. So let's put Nilram in here. No results found. So they erased the local news altogether because something is definitely amiss in this whole case. This is August 2020. As you can see, they're starting to change their narrative. This is in the obituary. And they put down, now notice this, they put down May 26th of 2020. So 3 days elapsed before they realized that he was dead. But there's no cause of death. He just, nothing by drowning if it was an accident or anything like that. And I already have a previous video up of this woman using fake names, her husband using fake names, and previous papers. And so this is just something not right with this whole thing. And the reason why I would think this is because way back when they kidnapped my daughter, and they have gotten away with it, my daughter probably suffers from Stockholm Syndrome. So she identifies with her kidnappers due to their religious brainwashing. But they did indeed get away with kidnapping her. And this is from the birth father, an email. I have plenty of other emails too, and I'll probably do another video. But as you can see, he alludes to if I don't submit to their extortion and admit to crimes I have never committed, that they will probably kill her, meaning my daughter, and make it look like an accident. This is why I'm taking out a life insurance policy on her. Now, he's talking about my daughter here, and she's supposedly still alive as far as I know, but I don't know for sure if any of the images or the people that they're using online, if she's, an adult being monitored or being treated as if she's still under their control, then that means she's hostage. This is extortion. So let's say that they kept her alive because there was some scrutiny involved and they got caught with my daughter. And then the other boy, this Isaiah Nilram, who also they acquired through extortion and duress, a forced adoption, a different mother, but apparently a relative by blood to me, supposedly, linked to my grandmother's side, my biological grandma, Cora Fournette. That's not her, that's her married name, her second married name. Her first married name was Hudson, and of course her maiden name is McLean. And her great mother was Mary Hazel Costain, and both her and her mom were born in Canada, in Prince Edward Island. So this is the local news. As you can see, this is the article that they removed. And if you notice the slight change from the victim to no known cause of death. And yet we have them linked to child trafficking. We're going to show you how they're linked to the child trafficking just a little bit. Go to my library here. There's just all kinds of anomalies associated with these people. Okay, for instance, the judge involved.
Hello, everyone, and this is
in this case is Richard A. Hamby, and we have a Blake David Hamby, who's his nephew, involved with Antifa, and he is a convicted pedophile. So these people kidnapped my daughter. It's also related to Brett Kavanaugh, by the way, who was recently converted to the U.S. Supreme Court. And this is probate fraud committed by them.
but the
This is very clear, where the nature of proceedings admits that I did not get all the copy of their files in the middle of that trial, which is illegal. I had no lawyer, and some of the documents were the guardianship certificates that they used to replace custody over me, which, by the way, is not what a guardianship is for. It's for deceased parents, or incapacitated parents, not found unfit or anything like that. A guardianship and probate is supposed to be if the parents end up hospitalized, say they get in a car accident and they're in a coma. Somebody in the family or somebody would take guardianship over the children if there is no other. If both parents say they both end up in the hospital, they have to be in the hospital to recover whatever. Then somebody, and you have small children who are not involved in that accident, you would then have a temporary guardianship. That doesn't make parents unfit. It doesn't actually really replace custody for the lifetime of the minor. And this is what these people tried to do to me while my daughter was alive. This is actually probate fraud. And it's actually, since they didn't have any documents that were signed, or all of them weren't signed, some of the certificates that they used weren't even signed at all. And that means that's fraud. It would make it fraud. But this video here covers a lot. Here you go, right there. Right here in the corner, as you can see. I'm not saying that every record is unsigned. That's not the case. But you can see here, we have no court seal. It says it's not valid, so they use an invalid certificate of appointment. And this one's supposedly under a Jane Bradstreet. The one that was signed was by a retired clerk out in Arizona who did actually work for this court one time, but she retired in Arizona. She had relatives that live in Washington State. So you can tell this is not valid. This is what they used to steal my kid, as evidence to steal my kid. They also used a P.O. box, which was not valid, so that's mail fraud. So these people claim to have an appointment over my child to override my custody when I have never been found to ever need to be hospitalized from any injury or anything like that. Like I said, a guardianship does not replace permanent custody. And in the documents here that was submitted to an appellate court, if you look at the video, I'm not going to go into detail, you will find I was never charged with anything or any crime or anything like that. They just lied. And of course, they're living in Pennsylvania. I'm living in California. What has New Hampshire got to do with this? You cannot go to New Hampshire and get a guardianship and then go to California and pick up the kid. That's 3 states involved. This is kidnapping by fraud. This is child trafficking right in front of your face. Okay, notice this says that they don't have a right to handle any assets. So this is about them trying to acquire assets or trying to keep me from obtaining some kind of assets. Now, I'm not saying that they gives them the right to the assets, but you know that they're going to try to do that anyway, or they'll alter even more records. So, if I'm living in California, all right, and this is, say it is signed, has a seal on it, and this was on July 17th of 2008, how am I going to get notice? Where's my notice of this new appointment? It also doesn't state where this court is, by the way. It just says register probate. It does not name the state. We have no idea. It says in New Hampshire, so it's presumed in New Hampshire and Concord at a P.O. box, which is in the county of Merrimack. Now, I have lived in New Hampshire, and I won't deny that. But I lived in Nashua, New Hampshire. I did not use that P.O. box. I had address confidentiality. But my P.O. box is not my residency. So this is actually out of jurisdiction. So this court didn't have the jurisdiction to appoint this in the first place. Because I hadn't lived in Merrimack County. I was living in Nashua, New Hampshire, is located in Hillsborough County. So you have the wrong county, which I allege in this, which was completely ignored. So this whole thing should have never been entitled to full faith and credit in California. And the only other conclusion that one could reasonably come to is child trafficking. And what went on is Thomas and his family got caught running a child trafficking ring. And he didn't want to pay his child support as well. Unfortunately, he did rape me. I will do another video about him essentially publicly berating me for that, saying I can scream rape and all of that, and he can do whatever he wants to me, which he does get away with. He even got away with appointing his own family to the United States Supreme Court. Now, I'm not saying I know Brett Kavanaugh. I don't. But that's rigging the U.S. Supreme Court. Sure as hell looks like it. And nobody should make that into a political matter. Shouldn't matter what party somebody belongs to. That is not proper. Nowhere did I ever know or was told or notified that Mr. Thomas Aaron Clark and his dozen other names that he uses when he pulls off his shenanigans was related to Judge Nato, nor was I ever told that he was related to Brett Kavanaugh. And I had a right to know that. And it would avoid some selfishness. He's also related to former U.S. District Attorney David L. Broderick. And David L. Broderick Jr., who of course was shot to death out in San Diego by his ex-wife. I think we know why is that he might have gotten shot to death. Look at what they're involved in. I'm not, by the way, endorsing her acts. That's not what I'm saying. But I can understand why maybe she would have been driven to that point. Look what they've done to me. They've tried to murder me several times. This is clearly one-sided. Clearly one-sided manipulation. And yes, Thomas knew the Epsteins is a relative to the Epsteins as well, which he also kept from me. And there was a previous adoption case that was canceled over some shady dealing that had gone with Concord Hospital. Involved a Seth and Joanne Handelman. There was only one attorney in it, and that was James Bianco. And that is not legal. Each party's supposed to have their separate attorney. But what Mr. Thomas Aaron Clark did not tell me, again, is that he was a relative to the Handelmans. And the Handelmans knew the Epsteins. So there's a lot more going on in the back of this. By the way, I never knew the Epsteins. but they're up towards Brattleboro, Bradford, New Hampshire area. Thomas also had relatives that live in Bradford. Somebody I went to Pembroke Academy with as a drama teacher named Andrew Pinard, a well-known occultist, Satanist, ran an after-school Satanist program. I'm not saying that you should always prejudice people if they decide to become Satanists, but clearly this man is probably involved in the matter, could be. This is when he used the last name Thomas Aaron White, when he was married to Heather Landry White, or whatever, after she had divorced Merton Doobie. So we have, and we also have Edward Imhoff showing up in Bradford, New Hampshire, too. You can see that they're desperately trying to change the narrative, even to the point of erasing the article. Look at that. No article. All of a sudden, it's just gone. Poof. Good thing I kept a copy of it, huh, guys? Yeah.